This is the It's Time to Refresh podcast with Brad Riffresh, the podcast about life, music, traveling, shit, literal shit that is, and weird and wacky stories with Brad, and a range of guests from the planet Earth. Feel free to share the pod with your pals, your mom, your neighbor's dog, or even your shrink. It's all fun. You can follow our Facebook group called It's Time to Refresh Community, or It's Time to Refresh on Instagram. Write into the pod, ask questions, and share your stories. Enjoy the pod.
Hey kid, what time is that?
It's time to refresh.
Back once again with another podcast. This is episode 48 of the It's Time to Refresh podcast. On this episode, we've got Kieran Porter. Hope you don't mind me saying it, but up and coming DJ. Sort of. Well, obviously we've talked off camera just then about you starting out, and that we'll get into it. But up and coming DJ from Cumbria. So I wanted to get a couple of like Cumbrian heads on as well, who's obviously just as passionate as me about the bounce music and see from their perspective of what's going on. So how you doing, mate? All right?
Yeah, I'm good, yeah.
This is, you were saying, this is the first time you've done anything like this.
Yeah.
So just be as comfortable as you like. Sort of icebreaker to start things off. What'd you have for tea last night?
I had McDonald's.
McDonald's?
Yeah.
I'm having that for tea when I get from here.
It's easy, isn't it?
What's your order?
The Mac Crispy, I think it is. Then double cheeseburger and large fries.
Double cheeseburger, just eating the car there.
Yeah.
What am I getting tonight? Them jalapeno cheese bites.
I don't like them.
Nice, the nice egg. I love them. Where do I start? Big Mac, double cheeseburger, fries, and she's told me to get 20 chicken nuggets as well because we'll just share them between us, me, my lass and my lad, so we'll get them there. Let's get started on today's episode. Who's Keiran? Where you from? Like, working lad all your life?
No, I'm originally from Maryport, but got with my girlfriend and obviously moved through here, got our own house together.
Aye.
Everything's went sweet so far.
So you grew up in Maryport and that, like, obviously there'll be some people who's listening who won't sort of know the geographical area. It's not that far away, so it's always been in with like the working crowd when it regards to music and that. Do you know what I mean? So how did you discover like the music and that? Like, how old were you when you got into it?
Well, quite funny actually. Back when I was like in, I think it was like year 6, my brother, we like never all.
Right.
And they had like a talent show on back in the day where you obviously went home first, got changed and came back.
Yeah.
And they actually done like a dunk night, like basically MC'd and then done DJ'd and that. So that was the very first time.
How old are you if you don't mind me asking?
23.
You're 23. And how old's your brother?
He's 29 to 30.
Right, so he'd have been like sort of about same sort of age as me.
Yeah.
Was he got like under 18s and that, like fusion and stuff?
No, he's not really into music. To be honest. He's like a gamer and that. It's really only me who likes music in my family.
Really? So like when you were growing up and that, who was the sort of the first person to show you what music was about? Do you know what I mean? Or have you just self-discovery?
Well, my brother first, like, after that night, obviously his mates and all doing it.
Yeah.
I think he got, is it like a DJ in a box for Christmas?
Right.
Because all his mates wanted to do it, but like, he was just left there for like, collect dust kind of thing now.
So what was the DJ in a box? What was it? Can you remember?
I can't actually remember, it was just like 2 vinyls and then in the mixer.
Right. Was he buying vinyl and that as well?
No, his dad had loads like bounce vinyls and stuff like that and just give them to him for Christmas.
It's not bad, is it? Not bad.
No.
Nice little collection to get you going.
Yeah.
So you've heard this and then you thought that's a bit of me, that is it?
Yeah.
Right. So where did it all sort of start? Like, because obviously you're a bit younger than me. What was the scene like in school? Was bounce big at that point?
It was, to be fair, but it was like Dawson's Dunk. They first came out.
Yeah.
So they were massive. So like they were saying like shout outs and that, buzzing over shout outs, getting in the mixes and that, and then obviously just going on parks and that, drinking and that.
Right. So what it was like Dawson's Dunk that was the main people at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
That was like in like year 9 or something in school. Obviously going out drinking.
Yeah. That's interesting. That like obviously being working like was Who was it locally that was big at the time?
Dirty Donkers.
Was it?
Bergen, all them
Right,
lot.
right.
And Paisley, obviously.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out when this was. So you must have finished school, what, 2014?
Yeah, 2015. I think it was.
2015, right? So you've sort of come back. You've come around and get into the music and that as the scene's starting to come back in a bit.
Yeah.
All right, that's actually really interesting. I think you might be the youngest guest I've had on. You know.
Yeah, I think so.
It's interesting to see. So what was? I know you liked it, but what was the bounce scene like? Like within your school, was it like?
I don't know, really. It was like...
Was it not cool to like it at the time?
No, not really. I was like the only person that liked it. They were all like house.
Yeah,
obviously,
right.
house
Okay.
and stuff.
Interesting. Because that was coming in as I was leaving school. Like, I remember when I first started to when I finished, it was two completely different ends of the spectrum. Where it was, when I started, it was everyone was like Bluetoothing each other.
Yeah.
The sort of
Oh yeah.
the latest donk. Like, there wasn't even mixes because it was just like bits of cut out of mixes and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then when I was leaving, the house stuff was starting to come in, and I remember being in the last year, and I was very uncool to be like a donk DJ. So it's like that stigma was coming in. So I imagine it was quite bad.
Yeah.
It was a thing. So your first discovery of like electronic music was bounce music then.
Yeah, but then obviously when you get older, you got into like, I was obsessed with like hardstyle and EDM.
Yeah.
Growing up as well, so I'm just doing that.
No worries. So when you came out of school and that, yeah, obviously, so it would have been like 2015, 2016. Had you had no desire to be a DJ out like that then? No.
Well, I've always wanted to do it, but it's just like
Can't
find like the thing to do it kind of thing.
Yeah, especially when as you were saying before, like none of your mates were actually into it. So when did you think I'm gonna give it a go? Like what was the catalyst for it?
So obviously lockdown when you're stuck at home.
Yeah.
I thought, absolutely bored out of my brain. I thought I'm gonna buy some decks.
Yeah.
So obviously got learning and stuff. I actually started on like tech house and that.
Right.
But then I was like, oh, it's a bit boring this. So I downloaded some dumb tunes and got right into it then.
Yeah. So what like I know obviously you were saying you downloaded the tech house stuff. What was this type of stuff that you were playing like when you first got the decks?
Well, it was like hardstyle, then to tech house, then to donk.
I mean, what artists in tech house was it? What sort of stuff were you playing?
Just like Keiran, loads of like different. I can't remember the names, kind of thing, but it was like the big artists at that time.
Yeah. And then obviously you've got the Spice of Life and got on to the donk mixing and stuff. So what sort of stuff were you mixing when you first started then?
Just like all your stuff off clubs, like your Georgia Lee stuff, Feature Recipe, also the DVB.
So as you say, like the more like rushy stuff, is that what it is? Is that the type of stuff you try and write when you produce?
Yeah.
Right. So the DJing came first, and then the production comes second.
Yeah.
Right. So that's interesting. What was the sort of your first club experience then? Because I'm just thinking now, like bounce wasn't massive round here.
No.
So what was your first club experience?
I think it was like around. I was 17 actually, and I think it was Chris Percy's night.
Right.
So gone there with my mate, my mate Chucky D. He's at MC and that and all.
Right.
Body Don and my cousin, and it's quite funny. We got there dead early.
Right.
And went to get a drink. And that's for my ID. I was only 17 at the time, and I got kicked out straight away. So I was like, oh man.
What event was this then?
Could have been sectioned.
Sectioned. What, the first job?
I think so.
Was it in Barts?
No, I think it's level 2 below Electric Soup.
Ah, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I think that was in Barts. I played that, I think.
Did you?
I'm sure I did. Let me think. It was so the first event was in there, and I can't remember. Was Finchy on?
I wasn't too sure.
Finchy, Pears, me, Kieran Clark, Spear. Yeah, it was. I liked that little setup they had there. It was decent.
Like
So,
like a little stage and that as well, wasn't it?
so how long were you in there for before you kicked out?
Literally about 10 minutes. Went to get a drink, walked in, and that was it.
Class.
So that was my night in ruin. Went home absolutely gutted.
So you didn't really get to see any sets then out there?
No, not at all. Just like the warm up kind of thing.
I think that was me. Fucking hell, Jesus. So, like, when was your first night that you were allowed to stay more than 10 minutes then?
I think it was a Dirty Donkers with Berg and everyone when they were. I think before they started like ending, like, cause I think they all fell out kind of thing, didn't they?
Right. Can you remember what night it was, or who was on or out like that?
I'm sure when what was he called? Kieran Clark was on.
Right.
DJ Limade, Sugar Sampleman was on as well.
Yeah.
And obviously Mystique, fucking Berg, or then like Melody and that.
Who was the guest on the night, do you know?
I think it was Yanis G. Yanis G and Finchie.
Or was it a Christmas one?
I think it could have been.
Ah, right, yeah. Was it Finchie, Cover and Yanis J that night?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I think I came to that, I'm not sure, I can't remember.
That was a good night, I probably enjoyed myself.
Yeah, they always used to put on like because they've got a bit of a cult following locally, haven't they, really? And they always have, like, as you say, they're into their like more rushy stuff as well.
Yeah.
So like they've got that cult following who like that. As you say, your Fitzy Rossi B type stuff with the dinkies and the faster melodies and stuff like that. So what were you hooked after that then? Is that what got you on? Can you remember any of the tunes from that night that sort of stick out in your head or like that?
I'm not too sure. Clubbed by Fitzy Rossi B.
Class tune, isn't it?
When Berg goes over that, he's just unbelievable.
I'm going to send him this clip and it'll be buzzing over that. Nah, so then obviously this was pre-lockdown then. This wasn't it, 2019. Had you been going? Have you had any away days or out like that as well?
No, not really. Like all my mates weren't into that music, so it's kind of hard trying to find someone to go to these events with.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I know the struggle. So then lockdowns hit, and then you've obviously got your decks and that.
Yeah.
What like you've got your did you just start doing like a mix series, or what was the crack?
Just learned and started doing like mixes on thing. Started with the tech house obviously, and then just moving up the bounce. I think my first bounce thing got like it just took off kind of thing. I was absolutely buzzing.
Well, and that was it like a mix series or just a one-off CD or something you did?
Yeah, just a one-off CD.
Aye.
And then
you thought, are you going to go down this direction?
Yeah.
Right. And then where does the production come into it then? Is this during lockdown as well?
It started in lockdown, but then I stopped. Then obviously got this house, and I was like, I'll probably want to get into it now. I've got like my little room and that for it and that. And I just got right into it.
So with regards to, I've heard one or two of your tunes. I think you sent me one a while back. I can't remember the title of it. I apologise. But when I heard it, you've obviously got that big influence of the rushy type stuff. Yeah. So is that what you're going to be sort of doing going forward?
Yeah, but I'm not too sure. To be fair, I like my trancey stuff, like the arps and I like good riffs and stuff.
More melodic side.
Yeah, like plucky sounds and stuff like that.
There's no reason why you can't incorporate it into the rushy stuff, though. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, as I say, well, famously, like a lot of the names that we talked about have done that in the past. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of that sound. I think it maybe gets a lot of people hammer it, but they hammer it for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So, how did you find it getting into the production? Was it hard?
Yeah, very hard at first. Like you just up in the FL studio and you're like
how does it work?
So obviously you go on YouTube, like watching tutorials and stuff like that, and then just start picking it up, just learning one thing at a time, kind of thing.
Like my advice, I'm not fucking nobody to give any advice, like, but fucking my advice would just be like master like one thing at a time. Yeah. Just if you put a track together and all of it there's something wrong with each element, then you're just like flogging a dead horse because it's not going to sound good. Yeah. But whereas if you're producing and then you're like, right, well, I know that these kick and these like percussions don't sound good. Work on them, sound them as clean as you can, and then once you've got a kick and percussion and your claps and your hats and everything like that laid down, you can make something sound half decent. Yeah. Even if it sounds not that good underneath, like so like say your basses and your riffs. They might not sound great, but you've got a solid bass to begin with. Yeah. Or even still, if you're an amazing, like talented riff writer, write an amazing riff, and focus on the drums later when they might not be that good. That's the best advice that I could give. But as I say, like when you watch these tutorials, you see people. Sometimes, I've watched like this tutorial. I've seen like EDM tips and Zen World and. Sonic Academy and stuff like that. Like you watch some of they focus on like house music or trance music or whatever, and I listen to some of the things and I'm like, I hope there's not like I'm not saying there's anything wrong with these lads, by the way, because I've learned a lot of stuff off of each one of them. But like sometimes, like I hope there's lads who's not getting to bounce music and listening to what they do, because it wouldn't work like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you see somebody how much, like say the sidechain a riff, and it's like that doesn't work in bounce. You don't want to be sticking a full load of sidechain on your riff just because they do it in fucking like tech house. You know what I mean? For instance. But yeah, so far, like, because obviously you're like an up and coming artist and stuff like that. I just want to know, because obviously from a perspective of me, I would like to know what your goals are as like a newer artist.
Well, I'm wanting to start a YouTube channel up, get it all sorted out, get all my production. Like I'd want to make so many tunes, then make like a production mix kind of thing. Like
So that's the main goal, then, is it? Yeah. That's a brilliant goal to go for, I think.
Yeah.
So what? So like say like 15 tune, 20 tune mix, something like that. I think it's the most organic way to build a following, because I know with DJing you can mix somebody else's tunes and get it all there, but like you can be praised for your tune selection, or you can be praised for your mixing and stuff like that. But if you produce a track or 20 tracks, put in a production mix, that's fully what your sound, and that's who you are and what you're about. What are your goals like DJing wise?
I'd like to get a lot more gigs, but I don't really like going out every weekend kind of thing. I like being at home with my girlfriend, obviously, spending time with her. But like, I want to obviously main stage pure. That's my goal.
That's your main goal.
And then main stage at Flamingos as well.
Yeah,
that club is just amazing. Like,
it's had a revamp as well. I can't wait to see what it looks like when the event comes around.
I just like the LED screen in front.
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I was watching the very first event back. I was watching Nicky B, and you couldn't even see him because of the LED screen. I thought that is cool as fuck. Like, that
was the only downside I thought with that room, is that when you're DJing in it, you've got to like got to look over to see like how the tunes are reacting. Sometimes you've just got to listen audibly if people are reacting to it. That's the only part I struggled with in there, where I'd consider myself quite a tall person, and like I don't know how like the smaller lads would like look over to see if the tune's going off. Obviously reading your crowd and stuff like that. So gigs wise, what have you done?
Well, that very first one was the Sanctuary one.
Right. Or the gig back.
Yeah, the competition. And then a week later, I was doing the Push a Tempo event down at the
rugby ground.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll talk about Sank then. So what, did you just send a demo in? Was it?
Yeah, it was just like it's like the mixed competition.
Yeah.
So obviously just thought out of it. I thought I'll put one in, and then I think it's like wait a month they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then I got shortlisted into the final, which I was absolutely buzzing about.
So on the mix, did you have any of your own tunes and all and stuff like that, or was it just?
I think I had one of them.
Right.
That There For You one.
I think that's the one I've heard actually. Yeah. I think that's the one you sent me a sample of on SoundCloud. Yeah. So when you went down there, obviously you were saying like your mates that aren't into it. Who did you go down with?
Just my girlfriend.
And just went up and did your bit.
Yeah.
It was the room 2, the one just on the stairs, and you go in.
Yeah, you go upstairs as soon as you get the thing, then you go up to the main room, don't you?
Yeah. Were you nervous?
Oh yeah, very nervous.
Yeah.
Like I'm anxious as fuck going down the train. Didn't want to eat anything. I was like, oh my god, what am I doing? I didn't actually think I was ready for the club kind of thing, but then, as soon as you get on the decks, you like play your first tune, you're like, sorted. Loved it, eh?
Yeah. So were you playing them type Rashid type tunes then?
Yeah, I was playing a bit some Porky as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was anyone on the mic on that when you were?
Nah. It was just like your DJing and then just a crowd kind of thing.
Right. That first event back, it was a weird time, I think, because I think a lot of people were still nervous about coming out of the house, and like it's a whole different fucking concept when you think, I would like, what were we thinking in COVID? Like you see these people and they were like walking around with fucking bags on their heads, it's ridiculous. Or like it's weird just to think that
fighting over toilet roll and stuff.
yeah, exactly. So like going back I remember driving down that You should have given us a message, mate. I'd give you a lift down rather than get the train. You're not that far away from me.
But that's the thing. I didn't really know anyone in the bounce scene kind of thing. 'Cause I was just starting off, so.
So did you know I was local, for instance?
I think so, yeah. 'Cause
Right.
I think Pez mentioned like you were DJing there, so.
Right. No, you should have given us a message and I'd have give you a lift down, like. But it's one of them things where it's like I'm all for like pushing like local people because I mentioned you off pod. I feel like a lot of Cumbrians get overlooked because of our geographical thing, which is understandable because if I was running an event, for instance, in Whitehaven or Workington, I'd get my headliners and that, and I'd get fucking decent DJs, but then the supporting acts who's looking for their say first gigs in that, you're obviously going to go local and pick somebody local. So I can see why Wiganers don't book people from up north, especially if you haven't got a name yet.
Yeah.
So it does make sense, but that's why I think competitions like I don't know if you've seen it or not, but you know that King of Clubs that they're doing. I think that's an unreal concept because you don't need to be a massive name. You just need to have talent.
Yeah.
That's it. Like there's loads of lads I haven't heard of on that lineup, and then I've seen the clips that's been out on YouTube, and I was like, this is giving like good talent a stage. Same goes for Deviation for Sanctuary as well. Like you got on there, he didn't know you from the next fucking DJ, and he's just listened to the mix and thought, right, he works, so let's give it a go. I think stuff like that's brilliant. Like it gives people a foot in the door, whereas we're living like what's the word? Is it meritocracy? Where this in the scene where you see some people who just go straight to the top and they're not exactly the most talented of people, or they are talented, but they just seem to go straight to the top straight away. Whereas you see these lads who've grafted and grafted and grafted for years, and they've always just either been sort of first hour DJs or just, and it's one of them things where I think being up from where we're from, it's harder to make a name for yourself. You can't go out to the clubs and you couldn't go to Pure every weekend and go right. Well, make your face known, handing demos all the time.
Yeah. It's like a hotel you train down.
Exactly. So I think if we focus on this thing we've got round here, obviously Johnny's doing a good job. I've just been talking to him there at the petrol station. Like he's doing soup and he puts bounce events on there, puts house events on, caters for everyone. I think that's a good sign that our scene's still alive round here. I was playing at that Rave Candy event a couple of weeks ago. And I think shows that there's still a need for it. Then obviously in Whitehaven you've got 135. I've got my event on Saturday. I'm just plugging it, even though when this comes out it'll have already happened. It's fucking class, by the way. I hope. No, but it's like that, isn't it? It's like in our area we've got our own little scene that's just a bit out the way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I find it sometimes a bit frustrating when it's like, you've worked harder than everybody else. And I'm not saying I do work harder than everybody else. I'm not saying that you do, but you've got to do that extra 25% just to make up to what everyone else is at. Which
You've got to be like consistent as well, haven't you?
Yeah, consistency is key. I fucking learned that the hard way. Yeah. I forgot to release. I had an episode recorded. I didn't release it 1 week. We talked about it off pod. And fuck me, the hate I got because it wasn't consistency. People's waiting on this episode coming. It's Friday and it's like, why is it not out on Patreon? I'm like, well, it's not coming out this week. Sorry, you're just gonna have to miss a week. And then, as I say, like, do you not think though with consistency, sometimes like quality over quantity? Yeah. Do you know, like, someone sent me a mix the other day and it was like, somebody I don't know, it was just a Facebook mix, like on Messenger, and it said something bounce, some, I don't know. It was like a really generic titled name, volume fucking 65. I was like, how's he done 65 volumes and I've never heard of the guy? Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm all for like doing a new mix, but only do it when you've got enough tunes. Don't force yourself to look. If you're doing fresh upfront mixes every month, go for it, but make sure you've got the quality of tunes there. Do you know what I mean? Be consistent in what you, like for instance with you, what I would do is I would put a mix out every so often, say every 3 months or so, and I just bash on making tunes. Like make that your focus. I'm fucking talking like I'm trying to give you advice, but it's not that. It's the fact of I want to see people around here do well, and I think that being a producer and making music gets you builds your name up more than being a DJ, because how many mixes now do you see of like
I know, it's just
DJs, and it's just like, well, I can listen to so and so and they'd play the same style as them, so it's alright. Like, I'm not saying that they're Wish.com versions of somebody else, but they're all obviously mimicking their hero. There's a lot of like lads who copy what Nicky B does, for instance, and for me, it's like I'll just listen to Nick then. Yeah. Like if I was gonna, and nothing against like them, but they're just trying to replicate it and get noticed, thinking they're being different. But at the same time, this is why I think if you're a producer, you've got them. You could keep hold of them tunes to the side, where it's like, well, you're only going to hear these tunes on my mixes. You're only going to hear, or if they're going to listen to you for your tunes that you've produced. I think that's another like, what is it? Another string in your bow sort of thing. If that's the right terminology. Yeah,
it's like when you listen to mixes, you hear like the first bit, like just like the percussion at the start. Like with my mixes, I don't know if like you notice, like I go straight into my mixes, like the drop straight away kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
So it's like a bit different, because I've listened to other people and like, what can I do? It would be different kind of thing. So I thought, do the drop straight away with the vocal obviously first and the drops actually.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. I've never heard people do it that way. So as I say, it is just standing out and being different, isn't it? Yeah. So have you got like a mix series or not like that, or do you just put a mix?
I've actually stopped for a while, because like obviously you see like so many people like trying to do it. I'm like, what's the point trying this thing? But I've like thought to myself, actually, why am I stopping? I could actually turn out to be something good kind of thing. So I stopped with music production, but now I'm like wanting to get back into it now. I've got the book for it again kind of thing.
Yeah. So what? And then are you producing Bounce again?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And how far are you coming on, and how are you getting on with it?
Quite good, to be fair. I just like take my time kind of thing. I think you can't make anything perfect over like a few days kind of thing. So
yeah, I think as well, when you try to make a name for yourself, I made this massive mistake when I was starting out. Like I would just throw my latest tune out for the sake of it on SoundCloud or on YouTube or whatever, and then it was shite. I hadn't even had like someone look over it and say whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? And then once someone's heard you that one time, they're like, they've seen your name pop up and think, oh right, there's so and so, give them a chance, and then it's like shite. There's a 90% chance you're never gonna listen to them again, and we're all bad enough for it. I do it. Like someone sent me a tune before. It's like, what do you think of this, mate? And I'll give everyone the time of day if they're nice enough in a message. And I'll just say, not for me, but this is what I do, and what I do to change it. It just wasn't quite there. But then it puts me off. If I was looking for new tunes for a mix and I seen they'd release something on a label, it puts me off even listening to it. Yeah. I still do, because just in case, but I know with a lot of people it's just one of them things you do subconsciously. Once you've heard them and you just assume that's what they're like. Yeah. So I think you're doing the right thing. Is like, you don't need to be in everyone's face straight away. If you polish your thing and you come out with one banger and then everyone's like, right, I'm gonna listen to it. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to this lad when he brings something out. Yeah. And then if you bring out 3 tunes a year, then you do 3 tunes a year. But if it's 3 bangers, and you get the longevity off them. Yeah. Whereas you see these people and they're knocking a tune out every week and they forgot about the week after because they're just bang average tunes. But yeah, good luck to you with the production. I hope it does work out for you, because, as I say, like locally we need talent, because nobody produces locally as well. I say nobody, but like nobody is consistent in Bounce that I can think of locally, where it's like they're doing stuff, and it'd be good to have that like little production circle within the community. Do you know what I mean? As I say, you're more than welcome to come around mine anytime as well.
Yeah. I wish Andy Kelly would get into Bounce. I send him my stuff and that all the time, and he's like, you should do this, you should do that. Like, because I was struggling with that vocal, I couldn't get it in fucking thing, so I sent it to him, he's doing it no bother at all. Yeah. He's a good lad, I
think Andy Kelly with him, I think he's doing amazing at what he's doing at the minute. Yeah. That I'm banging to that, like, I don't even know what it's called. It's like an amalgamation of everything he's played over the years. So like you hear it, it's like got a hard house bass line, but it's a big trancey melody. There's like influences of hard trance,
Stuff like Bendicky and that plays as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't want him to come to Bounce right now because he's doing that. That sounds amazing. But if he did come to Bounce, I think they'd have gained a fucking hell of a producer. Do you know what I mean? And DJ as well, because he's an amazing DJ. But I think you send it to the right people as well. I think Andy's a good. If you want good, honest feedback, I think he would definitely give. Yeah, I think he would. He's black and white with it. He would, if it was crap, he would say, "Listen, I don't think he's a good lad as well." He wouldn't go, "It's crap." He would go, "Listen, this is what I would change," and he would help you. Because the amount of people who just go, "Yeah, that's shite." Like it's just like, well, that's not going to help me, is it? It's not going to fucking what's shite about it. I say this all the time, like, but it's just one of them things. So before we sort of move on, locally, who was like your heroes then? Like back in the day when you were like sort of coming up. Was it
like
people
Rowdy
like?
or
Yeah. Well, in general.
obviously Joe Taylor. I thought he was massive, but he still is in my eyes, kind of thing. And then obviously like Dirty Donkers and that.
Yeah.
I thought they were massive. They're massive as well, kind of thing.
So obviously with your age and stuff, because I only just caught them. Were you like aware of like Andy and Millsy and all that confusion? Nah.
I've obviously got into Bounce and got to know like people around here.
Yeah. That's interesting as well because obviously you've come up with a generation that was a generation after them lot, which was, as I say, like Berg and all that, doing the more bouncy stuff. So did you ever go to like under 18s, or are you a bit young for that?
No, I think I was all a bit too young for that.
Right, that's another interesting thing. As I say, we're just going to wrap this part one up, if that's alright.
Yeah.
Are you alright with that?
Yeah.
Nice one, mate. Alright, how we doing? Just want to take a second of your time before we start today's episode, and I want to tell you about our Patreon. Patreon is a tool that we use to financially support this podcast. For as little as £3 a month, you can support us and what we do. It pays towards our travel, our editing time, recording equipment, making things better essentially for the podcast. But in return, we give you at least one bonus episode per month. Early access to the public episodes, which you're watching now, so you get these a couple of days early. And also as well, I'll be giving away all my tracks on there. So if you subscribe for £3 a month, you might get £10 worth of tracks. Every track that I produce will be going on the Patreon page. So for as little as £3, you can support the cause. You won't even notice it going out your bank. Sign up now at patreon.com/ It's Time to Refresh. That is patreon.com/ It's Time to Refresh. You know you're a fucking belter. Nice one. Back for part 2 of the podcast. This is the questions section where we'll go over some questions that people have wrote in. If you've got any questions, just drop us a message on Instagram at It's Time to Refresh, and we'll read them out as and when we get them. First one is, "Hey Amara, you've talked about your love for comedy. My question is, what is the best comedian you've seen live? And in the same breath, who is the worst?" And that's from Jack Rogers. Are you into comedy?
I am. I've
So-
never been like to see him live, but I would probably say Lee Evans.
Lee Evans is
Probably
your man.
the
Is
top
he?
man.
Yeah. Interesting that. Like, well, I was massively into Lee Evans years ago. He did like, I think it was the XL Tour or something like that. Like, he was a proper he's a proper family comedian, isn't he? So it's like into that. Is there any comedians you've seen and you've just thought they're a bit overrated?
That Paul, is that ginger fella from Liverpool?
Paul Smith. I like him. I think it's quality.
I think he's alright, but I think he just doesn't really tell jokes kind of thing in his videos kind of thing. He's just pointing at the crowd kind of thing. I think that's his kind of thing, but I just don't know. I'm kind of keen on it.
I like Paul Smith. Me, I think when I've seen him live loads of times. I've seen him before he sort of blew up as well, and I think he's a good comedian in that. He's a good storyteller. But obviously, with his crowd interaction, it seems to have took off massively. And I think that's what, when you see videos online, it's always just that. Whereas you don't get to see his bits, if you get me.
Well, they went to White Evan, didn't they? And they said that was probably the worst thing he's ever done. People obviously sniffing at the start. And that. That was nuts,
He does that gig, that gag, doesn't he? Where it's like, who's the cocaine seller? And it's that old woman in the crowd. She's going, "Me!" He's like, "Oh, fucking hell." The best comedian I've ever seen live was recently. It was at Hot Water Comedy, and it was Dan Nightingale. His tour show, and I honestly thought it was absolutely amazing. Like, mind blowing. I've seen some good comedians live. I've seen like my favourite comedians live. I've like Jimmy Carr, Frankie Boyle, people like that, and they're good, but obviously it's in a bigger. It's not as intimate and stuff like that. Whereas I've seen a lot of like up and coming comedians and stuff like that, and I think Dan Nightingale's show was honestly amazing. Like it was just fucking a full journey throughout. In the same breath, the worst one I've seen live was at Carlisle's Johnstown Centre at Carlisle, and it was John Bishop live. I've always loved John Bishop, like growing up and that. He was always like a dad comedian, do you know what I mean? And I seen him live, and me and my mates were all just like, "This is fucking shit. This is terrible." Like, I don't know, maybe no offense to the fella, like, but fucking just, I think it was just a bad show.
I've never actually heard of him, to be fair.
He's that Scouser. He's like, he was a lot of like people don't know. I'm sure he was like a dad on Skins or something like that. It was like years ago. He got a part in Skins, and he's like a big Liverpool fan. He's done like a few like charity stuff gigs for like for Liverpool, like do you know, like the memorial games and that, and he gets invited to play, and he gets to play against Liverpool legends and all that. He's great. I think he's great, but I was just really disappointed with his show. Next question, hiya mate. Keep this anonymous. Yeah, you don't need to read this out on the pod, but what do you think I need to do to get more gigs? I'm not in any cliques or any crews. I was just thinking, should I start my own event? But obviously that's a massive risk. And that's from anonymous. So what do you think you need to do, for instance, to be different from everyone else?
Well, I'll actually say I'm wanting to do like music videos kind of thing.
Right.
But I've actually, well, me and my brother's going to do it. I'm actually going to be going like everywhere around here.
Yeah.
Say like surprise view.
Right.
Go with like a generator, like electric generator. Get it all set up and that.
Yeah.
And I'm actually wanting like a green screen and then in front like the where I'm going to be DJing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Put like my name and that in there. I'll just make it a bit cool, eh?
Yeah.
Put it all over YouTube,
it makes you stand
Facebook.
out as well,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Like it shows production value and stuff like that. You don't need to be in any cliques. Obviously, it's helped a lot of people in the past, but and as well, don't put your own event on if you haven't got regular gigs already or like that. Don't put an event on. I made the same mistake when I was starting out. When I was starting out, like playing in clubs, I'd only played in clubs a handful of times, and I thought, well, if I'm not going to get booked and there's no bounce gigs locally, I'll just put my own event on. And you haven't built up a following to justify it, so no one's going to turn up regardless of who you book. It doesn't work like that. You need to build a following. So don't go and waste money and put money into an event that if you're only trying to make a name for yourself. I don't know what to say, because we've talked about it on the podcast before, but my suggestion would be just talk to promoters and hand in USBs and present yourself in the best way. Fucking put out good music. That's what I'd say. Think outside the box. That green screen idea. Obviously, I hope no one watches this now and steals your idea. But fucking, that's a hell of an idea. You can go out and then you know for a fact when that's on YouTube and people see it, they're at least going to give you that little bit of a chance where it's like, oh well, this is different to what every other artist A, B, and C is doing at the minute. I'll give you a chance, and then you listen to it, and they might get into your music. So there's more opportunity there, absolutely.
I'm gonna like cut like my plan is to like cut bits of the video up and put it on TikTok, because TikTok is like the biggest platform at the minute, isn't it? So
TikTok it's unbelievable. Like it's your best friend and an enemy at the same time. I've found that like we get loads of interaction off the page on TikTok, but like the only one like it's instant gratification for that 30 seconds. So it's like you put it out and you're getting the buzz about you and stuff like that. But when you've only got 30 seconds of your tune, they only want to hear that, and then that's it. And then once they've listened to it a couple of times, they won't go out of the way to listen to it. And when you get put in your playlist and stuff like that, there's no longevity. If you think of, I was talking to a lad earlier on today, saying about the longevity of like artists now, where it's like you see these one-hit wonders come along in house music and stuff, and it's like they do one good tune, and then a clip of their tune gets sampled on TikTok, and then people are sick of hearing it because every second TikTok when you scroll and you're going it's that thing. It's like, I'm sick of this tune now.
Yeah, it's like with is it Shock?
Yeah.
Like him, his tune just fucking blew out of nowhere. But he was doing like Nana Machina, that wasn't he?
Yeah.
I was on a night at, I think it was last year, I think. I was actually DJing with him underneath Electric Soup. I think it was called Candide.
Right.
He was quite good at it. I was quite surprised at how it all worked. Because he obviously puts earphones in, wears a mask and that.
Yeah.
I was like, didn't like, how do you survive with that mask like it? Because it's red hot in here.
Well, that's the thing. So he's blew up now, right? And he's thought outside the box with what he's done, and that's how he's blew up.
Yeah.
Do you think
He's
anyone?
probably grafted as well.
The thing is, though, like, do you think anyone would have listened to that tune if he didn't do all the other things that coincided with it? Like the gimmick of Nana Machina, like the effort of looking different to get people to look at you. And then the same crack with going around with the decks in a bus and then on a train and like I think he done Burger King in that as well. Like so it's like he's doing things different to grab the attention of people. People talk about it. Like I went in, I've got mates at work who I work with, and none of them's like into dance music or all like that, for instance. And they're like, yeah, have you seen that DJ? And like they're all older fellas. They're like in the 50s. He was on a train in Newcastle, and I'm like, yeah, it's like so like it's getting everyday people talking about it. So there's an answer to that question. Really, it's like just think outside the box.
Good promotion kind of thing, isn't it?
I think it's brilliant what he's done and how big he's got because of trying something different.
Yeah.
And you know for a fact you might do something different and it's not going to hit every time.
Yeah.
But switch it up, like.
Worth trying, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he done Nana Machina. That worked. And he got sort of big doing them sets. But then he completely blew up as Shaq when he's running around with the fucking decks and that. Like, it's like two examples that have blown up. He blown up twice with the same artist. Yeah. So, I mean, it speaks volumes, in my opinion. This week's Flop or Bop. So, obviously, you said you've been watching them.
Yeah.
Flop or Bop is... I'm going to read out a list of tunes and then you tell me flop or bop, right? I hope you know these tunes, mate. I apologise in advance if you don't. Exea, Kiss Me.
Bop.
Good, I like that. It's a bop for me as well. Total Control, Static Bounce.
Say bop.
I'm going to say bop. I think it's overplayed a little bit, but it's still a bop, definitely. And if it's overplayed, it obviously shows it's a good tune. Yeah. Nalin and Keiran, if I've pronounced that right, Cruising.
I'd say bop, but I do think that gets overplayed as well.
I think it's a flop. I hated that tune.
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely hated it. I think when it first came out, I didn't like it, and then it got bounced up. I didn't like it, and then you hear loads of MCs MCing over it, didn't like it, and then now all you hear is producers from say 4 years ago till about now. They just rip that fucking progression off the cruising bass pattern. It's so fucking annoying because it's not that good either. I personally don't think it is.
I think Pitch Invader's done a version. I don't like that version. Like if you've got like a vocal over top of it, I can't remember the vocal, but
Is it You Found Out?
I think so.
Yeah, that is a good tune though. Yeah. That, to be fair, I do like that. I like the original You Found Out. That was quality. KP Project Colours.
Bop.
I think it's a bop as well.
That was actually one of the first songs I actually bought, to be fair.
Yeah. It is. It's a class tune. I remember how hype people were hyped for when that first came out. Like it done so well on digital download stores. I'm sure I can remember everyone buying it. And like it's not heard of nowadays. Really,
it's just a vocal. I think
it is a class. I love the original as well. To be fair. And the last one for today, System F, Cry.
I'd say bop.
I'm going to say bop as well. It's a tune. I've heard millions of good remixes of it as well. It's really
Vinny
good.
T's version of it is unreal.
Vinny T's version. I don't think I've heard it, you know.
I think Andy Whitby played it at Cranfields.
And
it went off there. Like I think I actually missed the song. I went to see someone else, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, did you go to Cranfields? Yeah. What was that like?
It's quite good, to be fair. Obviously, I went seeing Armin van Buuren for the first time. Absolutely blew my mind. Yeah, could he like at the end of the set he plays his hardest stuff kind of thing. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. I like
Armin van Buuren. Like I think he's really good. I was always dead skeptical of him. Like, cause I heard some of his tunes and I thought they're good, but he always seemed like a disengaged DJ. Yeah. And then I watched his documentary about 4 years ago, something like that. Have you seen it or no?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know about him starting off and that.
Yeah.
I think I've actually watched it. Yeah.
Hey, I watched that and I was like, oh my god, I can relate to this fella because he doesn't like drink or out like that. I don't like any, and that's why sometimes he looks a bit disengaged. And I always thought, oh, is he? What a fucking prick. But then when you watch it and understand it, I'm like, fuck me. He's basically talking about me all the way through here because it's like I don't get off me. I don't like that. So it's when. If I look like that when other people's, I can understand why people think I'm a moody cunt. So yeah.
Well, I hardly drink, but when you got like pure and raves and that, I hardly drink.
Yeah.
I like raving myself kind of thing. I like dancing and that. So.
Yeah. So what was was it this year you went to Dreamfield?
Last year.
Last year.
I've actually got a free story to be fair about that.
Go on.
Obviously, when you have to go through all your security and that, and I had my lass's bag with us because the girls was every year, and then they came to the dogs. I had like no honours and that, but put to one side, had to wait in this queue to get searched for about, I think it was like 4 hours. And I had sunburn because I had no cream, and it was absolutely red off there. And then obviously we went to get the bag searched, and then I was at like the very first table, so everyone behind me could like kind of see us.
Yeah.
So he's like watching through his bag and he's bringing like lass's knickers out, and I'm like, oh no. And
I can imagine the embarrassment.
And then everyone behind us was like, oh, are you gay? So knickers for? I'm like, oh, they don't mind.
Cross-dress it. Nah, class. So it was a highlight of the weekend then for Creamfields?
Probably Tiesto.
Tiesto?
Yeah, Tiesto played like a pro, like halfway through it, he just dropped this, split.
Split.
It's unreal tune.
I don't know if I know that tune, to be honest. But I've always rated his DJ sets. He went in a funny direction when he started to do like... Because he obviously fucked the trance and that off, but he started doing house, but I wasn't a fan of the style of house music he was playing. Yeah. And then now, he does like a mixture of both now. Yeah. I do like it, to be honest with you. Anyone else? Obviously, you said Armin van Buuren.
Darren Styles.
Was he on the main stage?
No, he wasn't like intent. It was like when Bendicky and then Darren Styles, and Darren Styles was
unreal.
Absolutely unreal. I've never seen a DJ like it. It was just like proper like hard style tune, like reverse bass, and it was just... I couldn't even hear hear people talking after it. I was like that loud. It was.
He's evolved as an artist massively though. Like he's proper. He's one of these people. He's always had his thumb on the pulse. Like he's like he knows what's big before it goes big. Yeah. Like obviously he's done his Forcing styles and Breezing styles, and obviously his own Darren style stuff. And he's always been forward thinking. And then like you see when people were like a bit turned off by him a few years ago when he started doing the harder style stuff, and everyone was like, "Oh, this isn't right." And then, fucking next minute, they're all loving it. They're all producing it, and it's like he's just that. He's like 6 months ahead or a year ahead of everybody else with regards to sounds and
different as well. Like it sounds like very different.
Oh, in comparison to everyone else, definitely. I've never actually seen Darren Styles live. I don't think
we actually got to see him at Victoria Warehouse at the end of this month. I think.
What's that event?
Is it
Hellfire?
Hellfire, I think it is. I think Bendick playing the Tweakers.
The Tweakers are good live as well. I've never seen them. Yeah, so that'll be good. That's class.
I'm actually thinking about buying their masterclass to actually just learn what they actually do.
Why have they done one?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know.
There's a few artists what's actually doing it like on the same page kind of thing. I'll have to send you the link to it.
I haven't seen that. I'll tell you something. I bought a masterclass last week and I've just finished watching it today, and it's not even remotely fucking anything to do with our music or out like that. It was Mark Ronson. Do you know him? He's produced tunes for Amy Winehouse, and he did Uptown Funk with Bruno Mars. I downloaded it. It come up on my Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." I'd allow flick through it, and then I've got it. And it's like I didn't learn anything to do production wise, but he plays proper instruments and fucking. If you're a bit of a geek like me when it comes to production, there's loads of little bits in there where I'm like, oh, this is class. Like, I'm going to use this in my tunes. I don't know no one else is doing it. So, and he talks about being a producer and like getting his stuff heard and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm all over that. Yeah. I've bought loads of masterclasses over the years, just where it's a bit, some of them's left field. Some of them have like, I bought Ferry Causden's, he did an 80s tune. And I'm like, I fully thought it was going to be old style trance tune that he was going to be making, but it wasn't. But I learnt loads off that. Who else is there? I did Technical. Do you know Alf Bamford? I did his masterclass. He's, I would say, probably the best producer I've ever heard. Like massive fan of him. I even did like years ago. I did Paul Maddox, that hard house producer. I'm sure I did. He's
Yes, I think he's on SoundCloud. I think he's got like a tune called I Know. I think it's called.
I don't know.
And I think he done a song. I think I'm thinking of the same person. He done that Logic song as well, didn't he?
Possibly, I don't know. I'd have to have a listen. But I did his. I'm trying to think. Because I bought loads of them, and do you know when you just like, there's a lot of them you listen to, and you've paid like money for, and you think, I've learnt fuck all here. But then some of them, it's like you listen to it, and there's like just one little bit of information where you're like, that's worth it. Yeah, that's worth it. That's absolutely worth it. So you're going to go for the tweakers one, are you? Yeah. Would you ever go into producing hardstyle or like that?
Well, that's actually obviously after I've done my stuff in Bounce. Obviously, I want to try and get quite big and obviously make my name for myself kind of thing. But like, if I ever start getting bored of Bounce, I think I'm going to go and take the harder style.
Yeah, makes sense. It makes sense. It's like a natural progression, really, isn't it? So we're going to go on unpopular opinions. I've just started doing this week, so you're the first to do it. Everyone's put in the group their unpopular opinions. If you've got any unpopular opinions that you think is worth talking about, then fire it over on Instagram. This one is from Dave Gray, and it's ghost producing and engineering is a good thing. I agreed with him on it. What do you think?
I think it's alright because it's kind of helping the team. Because if you can't like do the production and you've got an idea, like you mentioned before, like Joe Taylor, he can read the dance floor like no one I've ever seen before. Yeah, and his tunes, what he's putting out, unreal. Like I think that Joe Taylor, like I think it's called Oh Baby, I think it's called. Right. That is absolutely fun, like unreal.
So he uses Kenny and he uses Fitzy and Rossi B as well, doesn't he? So he's got like 2 engineers that he does. He's a good example of a DJ who utilises it well. Yeah. On the flip side, you see people who just want to go in with say, I don't want to use anyone in particular's names, but people who do offer engineering, like a lot of people mention say Kenny or Fitzy or I can't think off the top of my head, but it's like they go in and they want a track because they've grew up and they've listened to KB Project, so they want a KB Project sound and track, and that's when a lot of the sounds become similar in what it is. I've talked about it with Kenny, and Kenny says they come in with an idea, and then for him to fulfill it, it's like, well, he'll try and veer away from using his signature sounds, but if they're adamant they want to hear a KP riser in it, then do you know what I mean? It is what it is. Same with like Fitzy and that. Like Fitzy and that produced tunes for people, and as soon as you hear it, you can just tell it's them because it's they've got signature ways of processing stuff.
Their sound, like their riff sounds and that. It's kind of similar, aren't they?
Exactly. So, I think it's good content. Like what I said to Dave was, content-wise and economically, it's absolutely, I'm more than up for it. But at the same time, on the flip side, no, I'm not, because, like, I don't want everyone to sound the same. Yeah. So if everyone went to the same engineer, like, there's going to be artists who sound, artist A sounds like artist B, and it's hard to differentiate who's who, and then that's when it does become a bit boring. Yeah. But as I say, as it is right now, I think the scene's very healthy with a lot of keen people wanting to learn. Yeah. I have no issue with people using an engineer if they're going to learn something as well. Yeah. Like if they want to get into production and they've got no way of picking it up themselves, no one to show them. If you're sitting with an engineer for a day, you learn fucking loads. Yeah. Even if it's just little tiny bits at a time. I think that's the way forward. So yeah, like unpopular opinion of the week. Cheers for that one, Dave. Dave will be watching this as well, so he'll put his 5p in. And yeah, so before we tie today up, I'm going to ask what I asked everyone else, and you've got one final meal. I bet you've had to think about this, have you? Yeah, actually. Right, okay. So you're about to get the electric chair because you've just released an absolute shite donk tune, and everyone thinks you should get the electric chair. So, what you're going to have? Starter, main, and dessert, and a beverage.
I think started I'll probably have garlic dough balls.
Right, nice, not a bad shout.
And then probably my main would be probably Chinese.
What are you gonna have?
Probably salt and pepper salt and pepper chips, salt and pepper chicken, rice, curry sauce.
Nice. And dessert?
Probably cookie dough.
Cookie dough. Have you had the cookie dough? Is it Domino's that do it? The
Yeah.
fresh. That's class. That is class.
There's one at the P2. They do got P2, and that's unreal.
What is it, like fresh and warm?
Yeah, it's like a big long
class.
one, like a big plate. It's unreal.
Oh, I'm into that. That's actually a good. This has been the best dinner in a while. What are you having for a beverage?
I'd probably have Fanta vanilla out with P2. It's unreal.
Oh, I never had that either. Fanta vanilla.
'Cause you
Oh,
can get, like,
on the machine thing, you press it. Yeah. What was it I had out there? I think I had Dr Pepper vanilla out of there, and honestly, it was absolutely amazing. Eh? But yeah, I'll have to try that though. That sounds like an
That's really
absolute
nice,
shout. So before we sign off, where can people find you if they're looking for your mixes and tunes?
I'm on SoundCloud with Kieran Porter, YouTube Kieran Porter, and TikTok Kieran Porter.
Have you got any gigs coming up?
No, not the minute. Being quiet. So.
Yeah. Right. Well, I just want to say best of luck to you, mate. And I hope it goes well for you, and I hope that you take your time in production, and when you do bring out a tune, it's worth the wait.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Cheers to everyone who's been listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, then share it with your mates. Sharing is caring, and it spreads the word of the podcast. So just want to say thanks for Keiran coming on, and I'll see you again soon.